Unless you're journaling or creating a list for yourself or working on goal setting, chances are good that anytime you write, it's for somebody else, right? Let that sink in a moment. Anytime you write, it's for somebody else. It's not for you, right? And this took me a while to kind of make that mindset shift, but it's important because you, as the writer, already know the information. It's not for you. You already have it up here. It's literally for another person. And so anytime we write, we want to do our best to jump into that person's perspective as much as possible. How do we do this? Think about two aspects of your reader. Maybe that your reader's an individual, or maybe it's a group of people, but either way, we can still think about two things. Firstly, your reader in their situation, and secondly, your reader as an individual or a group. So let's look at how these two areas of thinking about our reader can help us make writing decisions. So first of all, you want to think about your reader in their situation. What are they dealing with? What are their daily realities? And this would include things like, what are your reader's needs, their wants, their timeline for whatever you're talking about, their available resources, their not available resources or their constraints, their worries and concerns, their fears, their hopes. These are all aspects of our reader that can help us make confident and well-informed writing decisions. So for example, if you know your reader might be worried about their supervisor needing something from them, you've got to bear that in mind when you create your message about that topic, right? Your reader has their own supervisor to worry about too in that scenario. Secondly, we're going to think about the reader as either an individual or a group, which of course no group is homogeneous, but we can still try our best to think about what their perspective might be. And so when we think about a reader as an individual, we're thinking prior knowledge. What words do they know? What jargon can I use or should I stay away from? What type of background information is needed by this person or this group, potentially? We also want to think about their values. I think often we consider, what does my reader know? But you know what's equally important? What does my reader care about? And so we want to think about our readers' values and their biases. Maybe they have a bias against change. And so when you want to bring up a new idea, you need to do so carefully. Maybe they value teamwork. And so when you bring up that new idea, you mention all the other people you worked with and collaborated with to come to this proposal. Lastly, I'd suggest that we think about our readers' subculture. And there are many. We all belong to many subcultures. And some of the ones that would be relevant for how your reader might interpret your message would include their industry, what industries they've worked in, their generation, what regions they've lived in, and other factors about their background that might affect the way they receive and interpret information. A perfect example of that is just the simple word green. Imagine the many different ways people from different industries might first interpret that word. If you're from urban planning, maybe green makes you think firstly of a green space or a park or a bike path. If you're in the performing arts and video and media, maybe green makes you think of a green screen right away. If you work in energy, maybe it makes you think of sustainability. This actually came to fruition in a class of mine recently, where somebody brought up the great example that she had asked people in her warehouse for green paper. Well, this wasn't an industry difference. This was more a generational difference. She felt like in her generation, she thought of green as a color. The warehouse employee felt like in his generation, they were thinking of green as recycled. And so there was a misunderstanding about which paper we need. Here come a couple quick examples in sentences about how thinking about our reader can help us formulate a sentence in the way that'll land best for that reader. First of all, thinking about your reader can help you decide on content. For example, if we had something like, the committee based the recommendations on an analysis of employee outreach and retention. It's a fine sentence, but maybe I'm thinking, wait a minute, actually my reader is really into teamwork and I never did mention who I worked with on this. So I might change that to things like, the committee met with IT, marketing, and accounting to research our recommendation. Even down to the details, right, of using the word our to suggest there's a team here. Another example real quick, Thinking about your reader can help you decide on order. Maybe you're trying to talk about a new plan and some of the benefits it'll bring. And you have a sentence like, the new plan will promote higher revenue in various sectors of our economy while creating opportunities for job growth for college graduates. Then you think to yourself, well, actually, I'm writing to a bunch of people who work in public education. They probably are thinking about those college graduates first. I'm going to switch the order. So we say something like, the new plan will build opportunities for recent college graduates while promoting higher revenue in various sectors of our economy. So what we're doing is we're using that knowledge of our reader to make decisions about how to shape our sentences. And this goes right back to confidence, because when you've thought through what your reader needs for their given situation, you can confidently provide that in your writing.